Hi, welcome to Riders of a Certain Age Presents Conversations Beyond the Barn. I'm your host, Fran Severn. Each Tuesday, I chat with people whose lives center around horses in unusual, unexpected ways. These are people who create the richness and variety of the equine world with their fascinating careers, hobbies, and livelihoods. Their stories show their passion for horses and the equine world, and it is a treat for me to share them with you. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this week's Conversations Beyond the Barn. Hi, and welcome to Riders of a Certain Age Presents Conversations Beyond the Barn. I'm your host, Fran Severn. Today we are talking about equine-assisted therapy. Now, for many years, the idea of using horses to help treat people with emotional, mental, and physical issues was considered somewhat out there. There were examples of successes and strategies, but those were chalked up as anecdotal and not generally respected in professional circles. That changed with the creation of the Horses and Humans Research Foundation. My guest today is Pebbles Turbeville, the CEO of HHRF. She's here to explain its mission and its goals and how instrumental it is in expanding our knowledge and understanding of the field of equine-assisted therapy. Welcome, Pebbles.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
I am so glad you took the time out of your schedule. Now, as I said earlier, many years there were heartwarming stories about horses and equine and human bonds, but they were always treated like Disney or Hallmark movie plots.
Yeah.
HHRF set out to change that perception. What happened and how did it get started?
All right. Well, our founder is Molly Sweeney, and she is a long life horsewoman, and she was volunteering at a program in Houston, Texas, called this Sire, and it was a whole different world for her because she kind of was more in the competitive world, and grew up carriage driving and exercising the polo horses, because at that time she couldn't play polo because women weren't allowed, but they were allowed to warm up the horses, which I think is crazy. But anyway, so she saw horses helping humans, and she was like, where is the research behind this? Like, we can see it happening, but how? And so she got some gurus together, and they formed the Horses and Humans Research Foundation. Our first grant was given out. We started in 2005. So really last year was our 20th anniversary. And what we do is very unique in the sense that we give out research funds about how horses help humans. Mm-hmm. And that research can range from cerebral palsy, autism, veterans, trauma. There's an innovative study. We use technology, stroke. So it ranges depending on if there's a donor that wants it on a specific population, then we'll honor that. If we see that there's something that we want to fund specifically, like veterans or autism, or we've done open calls, meaning how do horses help humans? And then we've had multiple people apply in different populations. So all of that research is on our website that we have funded under our research tab. So you can see their applications and the results and their mid-report.
So where does the money come from? Do you just have a constant, development and fundraising efforts, or are there other organizations that you contact and get them to fund it? How does that happen?
It comes from our individual donors. We're not grant supported with any type of grants. We have had a really good following with some certain donors. Some other family foundations have given us dollars. The one of the first veteran studies that we did was donated by a veteran, and who got veterans together and said, we need to have this research to back this. And this was back, we didn't hear about it as much. And I like to say that, part of our mission is kind of a ripple effect. So when we do a study or sponsor a study, that is also supporting the research that will be done in the future, so that people can come back to it and use it in their lit reviews. So again, we are always looking for donors. I just had a donor who called me up a couple weeks ago. She's interested in a certain population. So that'll be coming out soon. I can't talk about it at the moment. But yeah, and you're really gonna embrace it. Let's just say that. So
okay. Well,
yeah.
now there's often a disconnect between the scientific papers and their findings, and then how you do a practical application of those results. So, how do you cross that barrier? How do you get the scientific information to where somebody who has a therapeutic center or is working with a traumatized kid, where they can actually use that information?
That's a great question. And I came on board about 6 years ago, part-time, and I was working on my dissertation. And I said, one thing that we need to do is really kind of create a lifeline from practitioners to researchers. So that's one of our missions, is to create a conversation highway, as you might want to say, because there is a disconnect between researchers and practitioners, because practitioners don't understand or how to apply it. Researchers speak a different language, and they don't know what the practitioners are going through. So that's part of our mission, is to provide that education either through infographics or webinars, or if it's like if I go and speak, or one of my volunteers go and speak to an organization, we're trying to disseminate that information, or also kind of make it into a little bit of a appetizer, so that people are like intrigued and going, wow, Dr. Peter says it best. We need to remain question driven. Like, why does this happen? So people get excited about, finding out information and question things and want to look up information. So that's part of our mission, is to provide that education and make it into practical terms as well.
We're talking earlier. You mentioned your big research tab on your website, but you were also talking about how well used it is. It's one thing to say we have it, and it's another for people to use it. And I was really impressed by the number of people that go to the webinars and that it's always there. So, I mean, how vast is that? And that anybody can access it. It's not behind a firewall. It's there to be used.
Yeah. Well, there's a couple of things too, as far as disseminating information. One is that we do free webinars, free, so that people can join those, but we do record them. They're just a glorified Zoom call. We're not all fancy, because again, we want our content to be available, but I don't want to spend a whole lot of money in something to make it flashy or whatever, when really it's just, we want to be practical with our funds. So we record all those and put them on a YouTube channel. So you can go back and watch those free webinars, as well as subscribe to our YouTube channel. And then you'll get updates when we do upload a new one right away, which we have lots of people who have been watching them. The other thing that you were also mentioning is on our research tab, at the bottom, there's a link to Science Open. Now, this is a new thing that we started a couple of years ago, but research is not always accessible, and it's usually behind closed doors, or paid doors, I should say, and big databases. But there are some researchers who do it and put it in open access. So we thought, what if we pulled all the open access research articles in a place where researchers could go, but maybe practitioners want to go. Maybe someone who's doing a paper, like a youth, doing a term paper, they could go to our research collection on Science Open and see horse and human interaction as well as equine well-being, because that is another piece of education that we're focused on, is making sure our horses are happy and healthy. But that collection has over 1,100, I believe. I went to it the other day.
Wow.
Articles, and it updates every night with an algorithm with specific words that we've given it. So it will have current research, but backing up from 10 years ago.
Wow. 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 Wow.
Mhm.
Well, you just mentioned the other thing I wanted to talk about, the awareness that the horse has needs as well. And if the horse is not in the optimal situation or lifestyle, so to speak, he can't do as much as he may want to or could do. So for a long time, in many ways, horses were kind of viewed as commodities or toys, means to an end, but the well-being is vital. And you mentioned when we were speaking something called the 5 domains of a horse's welfare. And I'm starting to hear more and more about that, but not everybody really understands what it is, but I bet you do.
Yeah, we could talk all day about the 5 domains. And this is something that you're right. It is getting to be known out there in the public, which is great. It derives from the 2020 5 domains model that is by David Mahler and his a whole researcher group. But basically, it's really assessing the 5 domains of animal health, but we're really specific on horse welfare or well-being. One is nutrition, which obviously you want to make sure your horse is getting the right nutrients. The second is, what kind of physical environment is your horse in? Now, we know that, not everyone can have 20 acres for your horse to run around in, but is there enrichment activities that you can provide in your physical environment that keeps them engaged or inquisitive, or, again, looking at their natural behaviors? Three is health, and with the health and the aspect of the whole package, as far as, and that's your veterinarian you want to talk to. Four is behavior, because we want our horses to act like horses and also realize that they have their own behaviors. And then with all of that, the fifth one is mental state. So you're hoping that if you look at the 4 domains, it kind of will run into that big piece of mental state. So you want your horse in a happy state, but he's also inquisitive. He is in his own natural behaviors, because we have these tendency to kind of bring them out of a herd and a pasture where that's their natural piece, is a herd in a pasture. And then we put them in these box stalls where they can't see each other. And that's isolation. They're meant to be with a herd. So there's some great material out there. We have some on our website. If you go to our education tab, you can find a magazine that we had some students at Guelph University in Canada do this lovely magazine about how to take care of horses, and they introduced the 5 domains. It's kind of a fun kid one piece too, but it's good for adults because it has lots of great information in it. But I broke it up into pieces, so if you go to the equine well-being tab, you can print off, again, free of charge, just print off what you want. There's games, activities about equine well-being in there too. We also have a webinar on it. The World Horse Welfare, which is in England, it's worldwide. They have several webinars on it. And there's a great class by Christina Wilkins that's actually in Australia, but it's online, so you can take it, and it covers the 5 domains. It's such a well done class that it makes me never want to teach again online because it's so good. I'm like,
Well, yeah, you mentioned Guelph, and I had never, first off, had to learn how to say it because it's GU. And it was like, so I eventually learned how to say it. But I've always been very impressed with a lot of the things that they do online. And a lot of
Mhm.
them are very, very minimal price. And they all kind of dovetail, which I like that when you're doing something, they're doing something, and you say, oh, wait, let's do it together. And it's even more for more people and the horses.
Yeah.
So the other thing, speaking of dovetailing, again, when you're working with your clients and your patients, and indeed the providers, be they the professionals or the volunteers, they have to be well cared for as well. So when you have the 5 domains for horses, you were talking about the 8 dimensions for people, and that's something that you're looking at to more, so that it's not just research from the scientific side, but it all has to blend together. It all has to come together.
Yeah. Yeah, there is the 5 domains, and we really have been emphasizing that about horses'
Sure.
well-being. And then I was at a conference, and a CEO of an organization said, I wish I had a piece of paper that said how horses help humans. And I was like, oh my gosh, why? Yeah, I need to have that piece of paper for everybody, right? So I went to create it. And then part of me, because I used to teach a wellness class, when you talk about wellness, you're not looking at one specific aspect of wellness. There's multiple layers of it. So I thought, well, let's look at that and how the horse helps us. Because emotionally wellness, I mean, I know there's so many people who tell me about the stories that they tell their horse, because it's like their horse is their counselor and listens better than any aspect. And then the physical wellness, because you hear people, oh yes, I rode a horse and I felt muscles I never felt before. you know um there's the intellectual wellness piece, that movement helps us with increased focus and attention and memory. And then you have the social wellness, in the sense that, I don't know about you, but I grew up, at a barn, and the whole aspect of the social piece that we had with each other and with our horses, the empathy, the teamwork, is just awesome. I love my barn crew. The spiritual wellness, and this doesn't necessarily mean that you're having church. There are the Cowboys for Christ group, but it's the spiritual aspect, like that mindfulness, being in nature, being around these great sentinel beings. It's a whole piece, and that kind of goes to an environmental wellness, and this, that nature connect that you have, being outside, off of
Mm-hmm.
our cell phones, out of the cyber world, in the real breathing world. And then occupational wellness, meaning that there are a lot of jobs and career development. You have a job, I have a job. We're right here about talking about the equine industry.
Yeah.
Uh, then you have nutritional wellness. There's actually been some research about, individuals who had some eating disorders, that horses help them kind of make a connection, and how to accept their bodies, and realize they need food for nutrient piece. And having that horse support, but also looking at healthier lifestyles. So again, those 8 dimensions are important for humans. And even though we have more, but than 8, but
Yeah.
how those horses help us.
It's interesting that, it seemed when the foundation started, it was just to kind of validate anecdotal things scientifically. And now it's grown into what's good for the horse, and now it's grown into what's good for the people, because it is horses and humans going back and forth, and it just keeps growing as the knowledge and the experience and the information, and just keeps expanding. It's really amazing that the whole
It
field is opening.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we were first started because of equine assisted services. That's what we kind of
Sure.
call the term for the whole big umbrella, meaning it could be therapeutic riding, it could be hippotherapy, where OTs or PTs are actually utilizing that movement of the horse for therapy. or speech language pathology, or you have the whole aspect of counseling. And that's something too that we see a lot now, that we have so much trauma and anxiety that people love going to the barn instead of being in a clinical setting. Being outside with the horse and nature is so healing to us all. So yeah, it really has really grown in the aspect of, it's not just for, I don't want to say a certain population. It's for all of us. Like, horses help all of us.
When I've been doing research for finding guests and topics and all, the number of people that have contacted me, we do this type of therapy, we do that type of therapy. The lady I'm going to have a couple of weeks, she has certified mini horses that she
Hmm.
takes to hospice and daycare centers, and she says they're great working with kids with trauma. And then you've got um, people that they can't be in that normal office setting, but being outside with just horses. Of
Yeah.
course, you already know this, that the horse's resting energy level is close to the human's most basic resting level, their most peaceful level. So just being around them, that's why just being around horses helps. And it's
Mhm.
just fascinating to find that validated. It's
Yeah.
just,
Yeah.
it's cool.
It is. And, right now we're a little worried about the horse aspect. The horse has been around with humans, and its role has changed. It carried us into wars, and then it's plowed our fields. It's been transportation. Now it's almost like this healer piece. And we've also had it for sport. And I kind of also need to get out of the aspect of, we don't use the horse. I mean, we are actually partnering with the horse to help us be better,
Yeah.
better. And I think there's going to be, we're a little worried about, are we going to have land for horses? Horses are expensive. How can we help our equine well-being, our equine partners have the land that they need, and the healthy aspect of they need, with the fact that the human race is just growing so much too. So trying to protect the horse and have it in a place that it's happy is also a kind of a mission. We need the research to make sure that they're in a good place.
It's interesting the change of terminologies from use to partners. That
Mm-hmm.
really is a mind shift. For how many years was it you broke a horse? Now it's you
Mm-hmm.
start a horse.
Yeah.
And I think that's an interesting change. And sometimes I wonder if some of that change isn't because so many people now who are getting into horses, it's not the cowboy, the rancher, it's the woman of a certain age who is finally getting with horses, and she's not interested in the competition. She's not interested in the domination. She wants a partner. And I wonder how much of that and how much of the general acceptance of equine therapy is because it's a different population getting involved. I don't know. That's my philosophical statement for the day.
Yeah. 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 It is interesting because, kind of going back to like the veterans, horses have been healing veterans since World War II. And then Vietnam, there was a group in America that was taking vets who'd been back, who were injured, and helping them kind of find a new role and help with the horses. And now we've seen this other piece of other veterans embracing that. Um, its role has really changed. Um,
Mhm.
and it's for the good, but we also want to make sure that they're still around, you know?
Yeah.
Um,
Okay. This has been great. Thank you. What I'm going to do is get from you all of the URLs and the contacts on the websites, and I will be putting them on the program notes. So when
okay,
people listen to this, they could go underneath and see it and be able to
great.
find you. What are any grand future plans for the foundation, or just keep rolling?
Well, at this point in time for 2026, we are going to be making an announcement next month about our big grant that we're going to offer. I can't say it now, so stay tuned.
Okay.
And then we hope to offer a micro grant. Our micro grant has been for horses' well-being. Micro meaning 10,000, 15, 20,000, just depends on how many people donate to it. But we'll be offering that in the summer, and we're about to award the one that we had for 2025. So you'll have to stay tuned for that one too, that announcement. So we're on the
That's
verge
exciting.
of all these new exciting things that are coming down our pike. But yeah, if you
That's
stay
exciting.
tuned to horsesandhumans.org, that's where you find us and all the information.
Super. Thank you once again. Appreciate you taking the time.
Well, thank you for having me on as a guest, because this is awesome to talk about horses and humans.
Absolutely. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, that's it for this week's episode of Riders of a Certain Age presents Conversations Beyond the Barn. If you enjoy it, subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Please leave a comment and suggestions for future shows, guests, topics, interesting equine activities. I'd love to hear about them, so would everybody else. And while you're at it, you can support the podcast by buymeacoffee.com/certainage. Support Conversations Beyond the Barn. Thanks for listening. I'll see you next week.